Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and today I'm so excited to be joined by the fantastic Kaitlin Olson to talk all about hacks. And in starting off and talking about when you first took on the role of DJ, I loved how you kind of like immediately saw her as an angsty teenager in a grown woman's body, and that's so much of the embodiment that you've brought into her over these few seasons. And I was interested in kind of when you started to view that on the page early on, and kind of like how you thought about the way in which you felt like that would portray itself in DJ as a character.
I mean, that's the first thing that popped into my mind, really, when Mike Schur called and was discussing this character with me and was saying, he works with these wonderful creators and writers, Paul and Jen and Lucia, and they have this incredible story they've been thinking about and working on for a long time, I believe years. And they wanted to write this character and they had me in mind for it, and they kind of described it in a similar way. And as soon as I read it, it kind of just became very clear um, what this relationship was. And I just am so fascinated by that, because that desperate longing for someone's attention, and the way you get it by being bratty and like getting a negative attention is better than no attention, is just so funny to me, because uh, it's typical in a toddler, but in a 40-something-year-old woman, it's just delightful.
I love the way that it zigs and zags back and forth so much, because there's constant things of like, look, I'm doing this really grown up thing and I want you to see me as an adult and as a peer. And then her mom can be like, sit up straight, don't sit like that. And it just like regresses to childhood instantly. So do you find that that kind of gives a lot of push and pull to the character to play in as well?
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. It's so much fun, and Jean is just so wonderful to work with, because she just like pull you in and then cut you off, and then pull you in and cut you off. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I got very lucky with this character. She's just incredible.
How much of that dynamic was really solidified for you once it was you and Jean kind of playing off of each other together on set?
Um, it really happened so quickly. I mean, I had an idea about the way that I could make the character fun and funny, ridiculous. And then the second that we were in a scene together, she just brought so much. I mean, it's just, I think it goes without saying, but having a really incredible scene partner just elevates you. And she is so talented and so funny, but so emotional and so real. And she's so giving in every scene that it allows for so much playing around and finding new dynamics. And yeah, I loved how narcissistic she was playing it, but also very maternal, but very maternal in a sort of, she's playing, her character's playing maternal, because she just, it doesn't come naturally to her. And to like find that nuance is so exciting and not easy to do. So it's just delightful to watch her.
I've also heard you talk about in working with Jean that when you film scenes together, that even if, Deborah's kind of exiting the scene, that she'll often go behind the monitors and kind of keep watching everybody else's work. And I was interested if that was something that you noticed kind of very early on in scenes together.
So I noticed that primarily in the DJ's birthday episode. Um, I can't remember exactly what scene it was, but it was actually Paul and Jen and Lucia who took me aside and told me, they were like, she leaves the scene, but then she runs around and watches the monitors and she just sits there smiling at what you're doing. And I was like, first of all, how lovely to tell me that. You didn't need to tell me that. It makes me feel so good. And how incredible of her to do. You don't like to be it's just a very giving thing to do. You know what I mean? She's not leaving the scene and then like going and grabbing a snack. She's like really invested in what I'm doing, and she's just such a giver. It not, it's surprisingly rare. Not everybody does that, and it means so much, because it's her set. It's her and Hannah's set, and you feel like you're a guest at someone else's party, and you feel like everybody knows each other and you're new there. And it's just really lovely to have that um, admiration from her, and such like beautiful, positive feedback. It makes it fun.
I feel like you get the validation and affection that DJ wishes that she could get from Deborah.
That's right. I know. I'm an actor. I need to constantly be told you're proud of what I'm doing. I myself am a grown child who needs that. And Jean gives it to me.
I also wanted to talk about the humor and the comedy of the show, particularly for a character like DJ, because what makes the comedy so great is she's not trying to tell a joke the majority of the time, but the stakes are so real and so intense for her, and that's what makes it land. So I was just curious about how you went about finding that specific styling for her as a character.
I just think there's something so funny about something so small being incredibly important to someone. So just really digging your heels in and being willing to die on a cross of um, something as insane as, I mean, I don't even know anything that DJ gets worked up about. But how much she loves this jewelry, the jewelry, and the way she describes it and like why it's special. And she tumbles her own gems or whatever it was. Oh my God. Like yeah, the writing is just so good. But like to find those tiny little details that, I mean, my children have a rock tumbler. So for her to be like super stoked and very serious about the fact that she tumbles her own rocks, the writing is just so incredible. I'm not, honestly, I'm not doing a lot as an actor to make that work. That just works on the page. I'm just digging into it. But it's hard to find a tone. Listen, tone is the hardest thing to explain. And these creators had such a specific vision of what they wanted, and they executed it so beautifully that there's a reason that you don't see a lot of shows be both dramatic and funny. It's really hard to do. And if you don't establish that tone from the very beginning, you can't try and cram in emotion later. So making DJ from the beginning this broad, ridiculous character, but grounding her in some reality from the beginning was so great because once you establish it as just a silly, funny character, you can't come back later and have her have an emotional conversation with her mom. It doesn't work. So that's just a huge, yeah, tribute to the writing.
It is, and it's part of the beauty of the character too. And I think also even just the way that everything that she feels so deeply. And so it's like the love that she has for her mom and that desperation and that vulnerability is just as strong as, the frustrations that she has, or, the more extreme kind of comedic sides of her. And so do you find that it's a character that whatever choice you're making in a scene, that there's kind of a necessity to just make sure you're making a really specific and bold choice and throwing yourself into it as much as she would?
Yes, if she's upset about something, she's very upset. And I'm delighted when the thing that she's upset about is the tiniest thing, but she's really, really mad about it, or so excited about something that's ridiculous. And but that works for me because it's this it's this dynamic between a child and her mom, and really all she wants is her validation and for her to love her and give her some attention and take some attention away from this very materialistic world that she lives in. And that's so, it's so both funny, but it's so sad to be begging so much for your own mother's love. I mean, it's like it's like she's in a an abusive, not abusive, but in like a not great relationship. Like, I don't know. I just find that so fascinating that she's sort of treating Deborah like a lover that is not no longer, that she might lose, or that's no longer interested in her because she's picking her career over her daughter in her mind.
It also feels like she's probably struggled with a lot of her relationships and friendships and interactions in the world because, we see like in the episode this season where Deborah finally comes to one of her NA meetings after years of begging her to come, that all of a sudden it becomes the Deborah Vance show and she's invisible even to her own therapist. And so do you think that every single interaction that she ever has, she always has to kind of have that wall and that guard of, are you interested in me or are you just interested in a pathway to my mom?
Definitely. And I think that's also why she finds herself putting on like pretending to be um anybody. So like pretending the whole jewelry design, which I keep coming back to because I'm obsessed with it because the jewelry is the best name for a jewelry line ever. But I don't think she really cares that much about jewelry. She thinks maybe this will be the thing that people care about, that like, and this is like a serious business, even though it's wires and rocks. And so, yeah, I think that, yes, I think her mom has definitely screwed up her life, her relationships. I mean, I have to dig into that because I'm the one playing that character, but, um, you know, it's helpful to lean into judging Deborah's parenting so that I can validate my character's brokenness. I mean, it's insane to, bring your baby to your comedy shows and have her sleep in the green room and then like be exposed to drugs and alcohol as a child. So I love that. I think it's insane. And I think DJ is very valid. I validate DJ for feeling the way she does about her mom. I have to.
I mean, even with all of that, she's a character that like wants to work on herself and kind of like make herself a better version of who she is. And it's so interesting to watch how that plays out in terms of who is she going to be as a mom herself, never having been given the footprint, but she knows what she wishes she'd had. And so how did that kind of change and level the character a little bit differently for you this season?
Yeah, I mean, that's that whole breaking the cycle thing. She did not have a parental role model, not a healthy one. So I I loved that episode, not just because I thought it was hilarious, but I think it's so great to look how DJ has a big win in that episode. And the win is really for me, not that her stand-up routine ended up working. The audience loved it. Her mom was proud of her. For me, the win is that DJ was proud of herself and was like, I did it. And I, she won because she got this realization that it's not her fault. Her mom has an addiction, to the audience. And I just think that's so great. And at least that's how I chose to play it. And that she kind of thinks, I mean, I doubt this is true for her, but I don't need you anymore. And I don't need to keep chasing after you. Now I got to shift my attention and raise my child in a completely opposite way, because you're broken and we're all broken, but you don't recognize it. And I do.
It's such a great point too, as well, because she also recognizes you're chasing something that you can never get. I can at least try to heal myself in these ways. And so did that kind of like huge realization and turning point change the way that you went into scenes the rest of the season, knowing that she's kind of had a little bit of growth in that journey with her?
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to definitely let go of a lot of the need for Deborah's attention because I think that her focus has just shifted and now it's her family. I don't want that to go away forever because I think it's so funny. I mean, it's such a deeply rooted thing that I think it's more now she'll use this as I don't need you, but like actively, I don't need you, which is clearly I do need you. I just don't want to. But the whole thing's just so layered. And I love that there's a shift in their relationship. She's pregnant, so she has to have a shift in her attention. There is the addition of Aunt Kathy, who is like a very loving, maternal figure in her life. I love that Aunt Kathy got her the crib before, Deborah did. Uh, just there's someone in her life we know as an audience that is able to at least step in and fill a little bit of that for her and let be like a role model for a loving parental figure.
I know, and it feels like it even changed those moments because there are these instances where Deborah kind of uses her as a prop of like, look, I'm a great parent. I'm going to do this one thing. And the Christmas episode when she's like, oh, like come sit on my lap like you always do. And
My
DJ's like,
lab.
I'm not playing this game. I haven't done that since I was 8 years old. So do you think it also changed the way that she receives those moments?
Oh yeah, definitely. And I hope that it shifts the dynamic a little bit so that I mean I don't know if this is like what they're meaning to do or what they meant, but like, but in from my perspective, I wanted to like really have it be like, oh, now Deborah's trying to get DJ's attention, Deborah. But I think ultimately Deborah is so focused on her own stuff that she's not even really able to put that aside in order to try and have like an authentic repair. But I just love that she was like, come sit in my lap for these Christmas photos. It's so ridiculous. The whole thing is so stupid and I love it.
It's the beauty of it, is the ridiculousness. And in talking a little bit more as well about the roast of Deborah Vance, I love that we have that scene with Ava where, you know, we start to see the material that she's working on and it really doesn't seem like it's going to land. And so the delivery of it's very different once she's up on stage in front of other people. And so how did you set about thinking, if this is a space that isn't natural to DJ, but a space that she's been raised in and she's very familiar with, how would she walk out onto that stage and deliver the material that she's written that's really personal and vitriolic towards her mom?
I mean, I think the whole thing was just going to be an act of pretending that she's comfortable in this space. But I just love the fact that she gets torn down seconds before she's called up there. I mean, she just, again, is the butt of all of these jokes when the roast is supposed to be on Deborah and then they turn on DJ and like all these jokes are about her. And I think she's just gutted. But I love that she is gutted and gets up there and does it anyway and does not feel comfortable and does it anyway and then gets feedback. Um, just that validation and the fact that she had an opportunity to bail on her own material, take Ava's advice, have her mom help her. She turned all of that down and did it herself. Um, I just thought that was really, I just thought it was a really good, a cool dynamic and a fun thing to play. It was a big turn there, right? Like the insecurity and the trying not to cry and the feeling like everyone hates me. And I think she truly thought for a second, like, I'm going to fail, but I'm going to do it anyway, just to prove that I'm not going to take what you wanted me to do. But the fact that it ended up working was just like, just such a win for her.
And she obviously has the most brilliant catchphrase for all of her
Oh yeah.
material. You just keep saying, "What a cunt." How did you want to make sure that that landed in kind of like a different comedic way each time she delivers it?
Yeah, it wasn't going to be funny if I said it the same way every single time. So I tried to make it different. It's such a stupid thing to say. And it's just so blue and so dumb and childish. And I love that she doubled down on it. And then I love it. So really the audience was like, yeah, what a cut. Yeah, I don't know. I just tried to, I want to look like she had it very practiced and staged. And so in the beginning, it was just the line was delivered the way she was sitting in it in front of her mirror at home. But then the more she relaxed and started getting into it and having like a vibe with the audience, she relaxed and started playing around with it a little bit more. And um, had to talk myself into like it became authentically funny. Like the way that she was saying it was funny. Like, it didn't really matter what the words were. It started off really like stunted and robotic and forced and just became something as she relaxed into it and believed in it, it became hopefully more fun.
And you're bringing up before that point of, you know, part of it's just to prove a point, to prove that she can do it. And I feel like she does that in a lot of different ways in her life. And, you know, particularly when she first was in her relationship with Aiden, that part of it felt like, see, look, I can be in a completely healthy and stable relationship. I'm going to prove you wrong. But it feels like they actually have like a really sweet connectivity with each other at this point. And so how did you want that to grow and change as she kind of starts to settle into it as this is a relationship for me. This actually isn't for anyone else.
I don't know. I think I've been wondering about that, and I don't know that Aiden is her like lifelong person. I just, at least how I've been playing it, and I haven't had this discussion with Paul and Jen and Lucia. I'm not really sure where they plan on going with it, but I think it would be fun if it was just this long game of I'm going to prove you wrong. It might be great if it was a horrible relationship and she stuck with it just to like prove Deborah wrong. Who knows what'll happen when the baby's born? Babies typically make marriages more challenging. So I think it'd be interesting to go either way. I mean, I'm not in the writer's room, but I definitely feel like I'm in amazing hands. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Either way would be funny.
It's such a great point. And also in terms of DJ's interactions with people that work for her mom, it's, you know, I love that moment where she walks in and Ava's on the bathroom with the door open and in the room that she's staying in. And that doesn't phase her because that's, you're like, oh, this has happened to her before. There's always new people, you know.
Yeah.
She's Ava's first DJ, but Ava's like one in a dozen for her. And so how did that space of the interactions with the people that she works with kind of influence you?
Um, yeah, there's just, I mean, there's a childish sense of entitlement, which I really love. I mean, this is my mom's house, so it's my house. So like, whatever, keep peeing, who cares? And that lack of like boundaries and understanding personal space. Again, it's just such a childlike behavior. Anything childlike in a grown woman personality is just so fun to me. Insisting that she just like keep peeing or like keep listening while she talks is was so great. I love the Marcus relationship, how she is like jealous of him, like a Marcus is a like a big brother, like a son that Deborah likes more than she likes her daughter. Um, I just, yeah, just DJ interjecting herself in this life and being entitled, but also being jealous. I just think that she's so conflicted and stunted in her growth up there that it just makes it just such a fun character to play.
And the showrunners on this, it sounds like from the very get-go that they've given you a lot of creative freedom in how you approach the character and how you've interpreted her. And what sort of kind of space does that set up for you creatively to dive into a character where, no matter what the scene is, that you have important input and you have the opportunity to kind of play around and try different things constantly?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trust there. It goes both ways. I think it only works because I actually find them incredibly intelligent and incredibly hilarious. And they're just such great writers. Lucia has directed most of the episodes that I've done. I just trust them so much that it feels like a safe place to play around. I trust that I can just do whatever and they're gonna either rein me back in or pick and choose in the editing room, and you're like, great, just it just gives you the freedom to just loosen up and try a bunch of different things and see what happens and see what comes out. And it feels really good that they trust me to play around and just um try different things, tweak the dialogue a little bit here and there. But I do have to, as I say that, it's important that I tell you that like on the page, it's already very well written and so much fun and a very fleshed out character. So, I mean, I'm tweaking it and bringing stuff to it and playing with it, but the work was done before I signed on. They've done such an incredible job with all of the characters on the show.
It's great. And I feel like every single scene is so intentional with so much in terms of her as a character. So it's always fantastic to watch your scenes in the show and especially this season. So thank you so much, Kaitlin.
Thank you so much. That's so nice. It was nice to talk to you.